I believe I am a salesman because I can sell. And selling is not something that just comes from nowhere. It's something that you learn. Some people, yes, because of the way they've grown up in the family, maybe it's a family of salespeople. They've been selling for the rest of their lives. Their parents are selling products. They've got a shop, so you tend to grow up in the selling family, and then you become a salesperson. But with me, didn't actually grow up in a sales family. But yeah, although as a young kid, I used to observe my mom when she used to sometimes make popcorn and sell them. But yeah, but the actual selling started when I first went to South Africa. The first time that I was in South Africa, I remember um, my brother found a spot in Cape Town to sell ornaments in St. George's Mall. So we used to go on Saturdays to try and sell the ornaments to tourists there in Cape Town. So that was my first encounter of sales. But then my actual encounter of sales is when, at a certain time, I met a certain South African white guy in Malawi who used to come and do business with the company I was working for. I used to work for a company called AMI. At the time, I think I was around in the early 20s at the time. So this man, because of the service that I gave him at the work, because he was buying curios, ornaments in Malawi, loading them in a container, and then sending them to Cape Town. So I was working at this place. I was in the groupage section, so we used to pack his goods and put them in the container. So that's when I knew him. So he said, Ted, I like the way you give your service. Whenever you are in South Africa, you can come and visit me. I said, oh yes, I want to come to South Africa. He said, what do you want to do? I said, no, I would like to come to South Africa to learn about computers. So he said, no, you can come and visit me. And when you're in South Africa, just give me a call. And from that day onwards, I started saving money to go to South Africa. So after I had saved enough money, I jumped in a truck, arrived in South Africa, called this man, and then he told me to get in the train to go to Neisner. So I took the train, and then that was my first time I was going towards the Cape in South Africa. So he was living in a place called Plettenberg Bay. And at that place, when I arrived, I started working for him. And I used to sell ornaments for him and his shop. It was a tourist shop close to the beach. It was very nice because I used to meet a lot of tourists from all over the world. And that was, I should say, somewhere around 1991, somewhere there, 1990, 1991. It's a long time ago. So, yeah, so while I was there, this gentleman, he saw that I was a very passionate guy. We were two of us. When I arrived there, I found he had gotten a Malawian who was working for him to repair the ornaments when those were broken. Because when he was shipping the stuff to go to South Africa, some of it was getting broken along the way. So this guy would be repairing those ornaments. His name was Charles. So while I was there, Charles was now happy to have a fellow Malawian around him, and I was also happy to be working with a Malawian around me. So this man didn't like to see us having a jovial mood every day. So he used to make it very difficult for me. And, on the days that I was very happy selling ornaments and making a lot of sales, when we were about to knock off, he would make my life difficult. Or sometimes the next day when I come to work, he would tell me, you are not going to work in the shop today. You'll be picking cigarette stubs and all those things. But I never worried. For me, it was an adventure. Being outside Malawi in South Africa, it was something new for me, and I was young. But then it started getting worse, and there was a time when he wanted to punish us, me and Charles, and he told us that we are no longer going to be at the shop, and then he gave us some mats. In Malawi, those mats, we call them keka. It's a nice weaved mat. Here they use it in local people when they have meetings. They put a mat on the ground to sit on it. And most of the tourists, when they buy them, they use them like a carpet. They put it on top of a coffee. They put it on top of it. They put a coffee table. Yeah. So he told me, and he was calling them beach mats. He says, today, Ted, from now onwards, you'll be going to the beach to sell beach mats. So he will give us a lot of beach mats, and then we will take those beach mats, we go to the beach. And then what we did, we bought ourselves some bath towels, because now when we went to the beach, we found that everybody was having bath towels, were putting them on the beach sand, lying down, basking in the sun. So for us, it was like a holiday. We were enjoying this, so we loved this. I said to myself, I love this thing. It's actually better than being at the shop. So when we went there the first day, we sold some mats, and we went home, and Dan was very upset. He said, today you just sold 5 mats, and that's not good enough. What I'm going to do, Ted and Charles, I'm going to take you out. Every day, I want you to be selling 20 mats for me. So we went the next day. We said, hey, Charles, now this thing is not good, because we love to be at the beach. Now, if Dan takes us out of the beach, then we are not going to enjoy ourselves. Where are we going to bask ourselves in the sun? How are we going to be sun tanning ourselves? So what we did, I came up with a strategy. I said, okay, now this is what we're going to do. So when we were there, he gave us a certain place we were stacking the mats and displaying a few mats there, and then we would sit. He gave us some chairs. It's almost like beach chairs. And then I said to Charles, I said, no, what we will do is we'll take our mats, and me and Charles, we took them close to where the people, the sunbaskers were lying, lots of white people there. And then we will roll our mats, me and Charles will lie there. On top of the mats, we put our bath towels, and then we lie, and we put our hands at the back, and we sit basking in the sun. We took our clothes off, we just in shorts. And now most of the whites, when they were passing there, they will see we were the coolest guys on the beach mats. And they'll come, what is this? We say, no, these are beach mats. Where are they from? We say, from Malawi. Get one. And we were just selling mats. Every day we beat our targets. When we go home, we beat our targets. And then and what we did also, we used to put a little bit of a markup on the mats now to make something like a commission for ourselves. And when we went there, we were working with 2 South African guys. These guys, Dan had bought a van. So they used to take a van and went to one of the junctions somewhere there in Plettenberg Bay, where they would display the stuff and sell. So when they came home, we would be chatting with them, and we told them our experience, what we were doing at the beach. So it looked like these guys, they sneaked to Dan and told him, hey, these Malawians, they're killing it there at the beach. Then one day we just saw Dan coming back and saying, Ted, you're no longer going to be at the beach. You're now coming back to the shop. It was a very miserable time now. We are no longer going to suntan ourselves. Yeah, so that's how my first experience of sales. But since then, I've always been a salesman. I discovered that I can sell. And now my second experience to learn more sales is when, after that's then a few years later, in 1994, I met my wife, and then I went back. We got married. I was now living in South Africa. I ended up working for a furniture shop called Fair Deals, and in that shop, there was a guy who was like a trainee sales manager. His name was Moses. He was an African guy. And now Moses, he used to be a sales rep in one of the branches in Cape Town, at a shop in Belleville. And then they wanted to promote him to become a sales manager, a branch manager. So he came to Paarl, in the shop where I was working, to work there as a trainee sales manager. So it was an opportunity for him to also prove himself. And like enough, I was employed there. And it was me and a certain guy called Trevino. We were employed together. So me and Trevino, new guys to be sales reps in this furniture shop. In the shop, there was a lady, her name was June. She was a very experienced sales lady. She's the one that we used to carry the shop. So meaning that if June doesn't make any sales for a week or a month, that means the shop won't meet its target. That's how good June was. Now, when we arrived there, and I had a desk just in front of the door. Trevino was in front of me, was on the desk that was closer to the main door. I was sitting behind him. And June was actually operating on the other side of the shop. Let me just put the data off first. All right. June was actually on the other side. And now what would happen was, every time me and Trevino, when we see somebody walking in the shop, we will all stand up, we will fight to go to the customer. But June was on the other side there on the desk, But we'll just see me and Trevino, we go to the customer, meet the customer, greet the customer, how are you? How can I help you? And always the answer was, I'm just looking. Every time the answer was, I'm just looking. And then Moses was on his desk somewhere and he used to watch us. And then one day he came and he called me and Trevino and said, you guys, you have to learn how to sell. Now it's high time that you have to start learning how to sell because you are not selling. So me, I said, but we are trying our best. He says, no, you are not doing it the right way. I said, what are we supposed to do? He said, no, when a customer walks in a shop, they will give you what we call a buying signal. So me, I said, buying signal, what does buying signal mean? He says, buying signal is when a customer will tell you that they want to buy, or when you are busy talking to them in the process of selling, the customer will tell you that I'm ready to buy. So I said, but how do you know that? He said, if you want to know how to read buying signals, you must watch June. And he asked us, how many times have you seen June walk over to a customer and never write a deal? I said, almost, I've never, all the time that June walks up to a customer, she ends up writing a deal. He said, you see, it's because June actually knows how to read buying signals. How many times have you seen June just stand up and walk? How many times have you seen June ignoring people that comes in? I said so many times. She will just look up, the person who comes in the shop, she won't deal with them. We go and talk to the person just tells, just looking. He said, yes, it's because June can read buying signals. A sales rep does not waste time with time wasters. A sales rep knows that every time he targets somebody, he has to close a deal. And therefore, June will never just waste time because if she goes and just waste time with anybody, she might be losing a potential customer who's going to walk in at the time that she's wasting time with somebody. That's when I said, okay, now me, I'll be sitting, observing June and see what June is doing. So every time a customer walks in, I look at June and I see June doesn't stand up. I know that that customer is not a potential. Then I'll study, how did the customer come in? So the shop had a big glass. So when you are inside, you could see people coming in, and you see that sometimes there was a pavement and there was like a main road. You see sometimes the customer is walking on the other side of the road. He's crossing the road, running across the road, goes straight into the shop. June stands up. I said, okay. Sometimes a person is walking, just walking the pavement. He stops on the big grass, looks into the shop, goes back, enters the shop. June just looks and it doesn't stand up. I said, oh, okay. So that's how I started learning. I knew, okay, when a person is coming to buy or is looking for something, they normally walk directly into the shop. But people who are just time wasters, they are people who are just browsing. Maybe they are passing by, they will just stop, look through the glass, and then get in the shop. So these are the people who just, like they're just getting interested and just looking. And that's what June used to do. So I started learning this technique. So I started competing with June now. So I'm starting to read buying signals. And now my sales heat started rising. And every time I make a deal, I started getting more and more excited. So Moses taught us a lot of things. He taught us things like add-ons. He said, Ted, if you are selling for instance, if you are selling a bed, you must also sell a lampshade? You must sell a lampshade. Every time when you sell something, always sell something that goes on. A sales rep will always sell an add-on. So if you are buying, for example, a car at a dealership, once you accept that you want to buy the car, the salesman will sell you something like an add-on. Maybe if the car that you were buying didn't have air conditioning, he would now say, okay, my friend, because it's too hot in this area, why don't you buy this car, the same car, but now with an aircon? Now, in most cases, when the sales rep sells an add-on, the add-on actually has got some commission that the sales rep gets like immediately. Okay, when they sell the products, they get commission, but the add-ons, they also got some kind of special bonus that they get from it. So I started selling add-ons also. So I was slowly, and then I realized that it looks like this selling thing is got something. You have to actually study this. You have to actually learn. Because I used to ask Moses, how did you know this? He said, I've been reading books and we've been studying and all the stuff. Then I said, okay. I started going to bookshops now. Started collecting books on sales. Right now, I've got a suitcase full of books where I used to buy every month a book of sales. I've bought books by Jeffrey Gitmore. It's called the Sales Bible. This book is actually a package of CDs that I used to listen in the car. I bought books by Zig Ziglar. And then I also, there was another writer called John Kerry. He wrote a book called Selling Using NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Neuro-Linguistic Programming is when you are able to look at people's eyes, and because of the way their eyes move when they answer questions or say something, you can know whether they're telling the truth or whether they're lying to you. So you know in sales that, okay, you ask a question, then you'll be able to read and see that they are able to, whether they're telling the truth or lying, or whether they're thinking about it, or things like that. And I also started learning that the sales itself, selling itself, has got processes. I also learned that in selling, you have to ask the right questions. So I started buying books in sales where they teach you how to ask the questions. I know that you have opening questions, like when you are just open-ended questions. That's when you want to learn more about a customer, because in the first phase, you need to know more about it. You want a customer to dig more information. So you ask open-ended questions. As you start trying to see if you can close, then you try to do closed questions. And then at the end, when you want to sell, you start doing leading questions. Closed questions are questions that will require an yes or a no answer. And then leading questions are questions that you direct the question by saying, like, so you can see that this product it will help you, isn't it? And then it's like you're leading the customer to the answer. Yeah, so I had to learn all those kind of things. Today, I'm able to apply these techniques even on Facebook. I know how to present my products in a way that I can use the sales techniques so that I can make sales, and it has helped me a lot. And I also learned that as an entrepreneur, you should be able to sell. So yeah, that's in a nutshell the story about how I became a sales rep. At the moment, I can actually boast myself that I'm very good at selling. And most of the times I sell to people on Facebook without them realizing that I'm selling. Everything that I do, every video that I do on Facebook about my products is a sales pitch. Thank you. So don't forget to, if you are visiting this channel for the first time, to subscribe, like, share, and also hit the bell at the bottom. Just hit the bell so that you can be notified. Thank you.